Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how Donald Trump realistically still could be the favorite to win this election over Kamala Harris, regardless of what the polls are actually suggesting, which is quite the opposite. Before we get started, make sure you guys are subscribed, click the bell so you don't miss out on my content, press the like button, give this video a thumbs up. Also, if you have memberships, you can find a link to that in the description section if you are interested. So basically, if you really take a deep dive into this election in terms, you have to take a look at voter registration and not only what the polls are suggesting. And there's a guy named Alan Lichtman, in which probably most of you already know. He's a professor who basically always correctly predicts the outcome of presidential elections, which as of right now, he says Kamala Harris is a slight favorite according to his keys. And he said that we should take the polls as a grain of salt. And basically, we should just forget the polls, forget what the pundits are saying. And if we are basing that off of whatever he said there, which I agree. I think the polls are completely trash, because there was a recent poll, the most latest one, RCP, in which shows Kamala Harris winning the state of Oregon by 5 percentage points, guys. Oregon by 5 for Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, that's the same margin as her lead in the state of Michigan of 5 percentage points. I just can't see a reality in which both Michigan and Oregon have the exact same margin in this election. Obviously, Oregon's going to be a whole lot bluer than Michigan, and so that is exactly why that's my problem with the polls, because there's no way a state like Oregon is the same exact margin as Michigan according to RCP. So that is my reason why the polls suck. And so, like I mentioned earlier, we go to voter registration, in which Republicans are doing tremendous in terms of getting new voters that they originally did not have in 2020. And for example, in North Carolina, Republicans are doing tremendous in terms of new voter registration. And that's what's going to trend the state even more to the right, because Donald Trump won North Carolina in 2020, a less favorable environment, obviously. He had COVID, he had a lot of outlash, he had a lot of baggage, obviously the impeachments and all that stuff, and he still won North Carolina by 1.6%. Meanwhile, you had Georgia and Arizona flip to Joe Biden. That goes to show you how much more red of a state of North Carolina is. So if I were to have to take a guess and completely forget the polls, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden back in 2020 and 2016 were supposed to win the popular vote, the national popular vote, by close to 10 points, and none of them had that happen. Obviously, Joe Biden was supposed to, at this point in time, he was supposed to win the popular vote by 9%. He ended up winning it by 4 percentage points. That is a polling error of a 5-point shift to the right when you apply that polling error. And I know that elections are not decided by polling errors, but if you take that as an example, right now, if you compare 2020 to 2024, obviously Donald Trump is doing vastly better. And Republicans who are worrying about Kamala Harris's rise in the polls need to realize that Donald Trump is performing better in the polls than he was in 2020 and in 2016. So, for example, Biden was supposed to win the state of Wisconsin by 6 points, and he ended up winning it by 0.6%. That's a polling error of 6 points. That's the shift to the right in favor of Donald Trump. And the fact that Harris is only winning Wisconsin by 1 point on average, honestly, when you apply that polling error, Trump's realistically is the favorite to win Wisconsin based off of the errors from the polls. And so therefore, I do think he realistically still could be the favorite, regardless of what the polls are showing, that Kamala Harris is now doing better than Joe Biden in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and even Arizona or Georgia and Nevada as well. Even though that may be true, Kamala Harris is performing better than Joe Biden, but still, she's winning the national popular vote according to 538 by 2.7%. Is that realistically enough to win the election? I'm not quite sure, because when Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 2 percentage points, which is around the margin for Kamala Harris as of right now, according to 538, she lost every single Rust Belt state, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And the fact that Kamala Harris is winning the popular vote by 2.7% can really show that even though she's the favorite, you have to really take a deep dive into this, because Biden won the popular vote by 4 points, and he won Wisconsin by under a percentage point. He won Pennsylvania by 1.2%. That is extremely close, and that's 4%. Kamala is winning the popular vote by 2.7 as of today, according to 538. That is not enough to win all the three important Rust Belt states. Maybe she can get one or two of them with that percentage, 2.7 with the popular vote. But still, that goes to show you that Trump can still very well get at least one, or he could crack two of those Rust Belt states, probably Pennsylvania or maybe even Michigan at this point in time. Obviously, there's a large uncommitted vote, which is also something that we need to, consider. And Republicans are extremely worried, and they're basically dooming themselves because they can see Kamala Harris's rise in the polls. Now, that's what's her rise in the polls is basically, to me, that means that she is doing better than Joe Biden. That does not mean she's winning. Her rising in the polls, for me, means that she is not necessarily winning, but it means that she's doing better than Joe Biden. Because, as an example, Biden was losing to Trump by like 3 points on average according to RCP when he was still in the race. Now, realistically, Trump could have won the popular vote by even greater than that because of the polling error. Obviously, they always underestimate Donald Trump in every single election. And you may say, well, not this election because Trump was actually leading this time. Well, maybe he was leading by less than what he would actually win by on election day. Maybe you would see that he's up by 3 points on Biden, but maybe he actually was up by 5 points instead. So that's what people have to realize, mainly on the right. They're freaking out, and they're basically saying that Trump's going to lose because Kamala Harris is leading by literally 1 percentage point in a swing state, for example, in which Biden barely won just 4 years ago. And honestly, if they're going to keep on dooming themselves and basically they won't turn out to vote because they think the election's over, I think that's completely outrageous. And even in Georgia, guys, on average, Donald Trump is up by almost 1 percentage point in this state. And that is a huge improvement from 2020, according to the polls in which Biden was supposed to win Georgia by 2 points at this point in time. And that's what people have to realize, that the polling error is so huge to the point where Trump can still win even if Harris is winning according to the polls. And even in 2016, Hillary Clinton was supposed to do vastly better. That ended up not happening. So Trump would still win Georgia. I think he's the favorite in there. I think he's in the favored in Arizona as well. By the way, speaking of Arizona, he got endorsed just yesterday actually by the former popular governor Doug Ducey, who you may say, well, he had like a 34% approval rating when he left office. Well, still, he won by double digits in a purple swing state, so I would call him popular. I think Trump will be able to flip Maricopa County. Obviously, you have immigration, which that is a losing issue for Kamala Harris. The border crisis is not good for her. There's no way she can address that as much as Trump can. Also, I do expect Trump to perform better than where he did in 2020 among Hispanic voters as well. Therefore, I think he is the slight favorite as well in the state of Arizona, considering that major endorsement by the former governor there as well. And so we go back to Michigan. You had a large uncommitted vote of 100,000 voters, guys. Imagine 100,000 people not showing up to November, to the polls, and the Democratic primary, by the way, for Kamala Harris, because her stance on Gaza. And obviously, she is probably, I would say, nicer to the pro-Palestinian protests than someone like Joe Biden, but still, a lot of them are not happy with what's going on. Also, if the U.S. still continues to support Israel, that's not going to be good for Kamala because she is in office right now, and that's showing that Trump might still be, realistically, the favorite in Michigan, despite what the polls are showing. The latest poll on RCP has Kamala up by, I believe, 4 percentage points in the state of Michigan. That is a greater amount than Joe Biden's victory in this state, which is exactly why the polls are trash, in my opinion, because there is no realistic shot that Kamala Harris wins this state of Michigan with 100,000 people voting uncommitted in the Democratic primaries this time around. I just don't see that happening. And then Pennsylvania, in which Trump obviously got shot here. I think that can really boost his turnout significantly, skyrocket the turnout in the Pittsburgh area because he was shot at Butler, that's close to Pittsburgh. Also, I think he would be able to flip Erie County, as well as perform better in Central County, as well as flip Northampton, which only went to Biden by 0.7. And if Kamala does not have strong numbers in Philadelphia and the Pittsburgh suburbs, then she's probably not going to win this state. So realistically, according to the polls, Pennsylvania will be the reddest Rust Belt state of the three in this election. And then you have Nevada and Virginia. Obviously, I think there's only 8 true swing and battleground states. Obviously, you have the battleground states, which I'm using quotations as Colorado, Minnesota, or even Florida as an example, which those are not real battleground states. I would say the real 8 are probably Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, even Virginia, you name it. That's the real battleground states. But as for Nevada, this state's obviously getting better. In the latest poll, a left-leaning internal poll, a left-biased poll, has it a dead tie. So the fact that it's a tie, according to a left pollster, that's going to underestimate Donald Trump if you realistically think about it. And so Donald Trump is also the favorite to win Nevada as well. He's probably going to flip Washoe County as well as do better, perform better in the Vegas area, obviously Clark County among Hispanic voters as well. He most likely will win this state. And Virginia, the latest poll has Kamala up by 5%. And you compare this to 2020, in which Biden was up by 10 points. And that's why Republicans need to stop, I would say, whining about, oh, Trump's going to lose now because all of a sudden Harris is, winning in the polls. Well, her lead in these states are vastly smaller than Joe Biden's in this state back in 2020. On top of they actually overestimated his chances. And so I still do think Harris will win Virginia by a lean margin at the end of the day. Also, Donald Trump got endorsed here by the governor, Glenn Youngkin, who had an amazing victory in 2021. So realistically, if you really take a look at things, voter registration, endorsements, and up and down ballot races, Donald Trump still could be the favorite to win this election at 312 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 226. So let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Don't forget to subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss out on my content, press the like button, give this video a thumbs up. Also, we have memberships, you can find a link to that in the description section. If you are interested, that's pretty much it. Thank you everyone for watching.